Hey folks, welcome to a podcast about Catholic things. This is Eric, the ambassador of common sense, and I'm here with
Dan, the ambassador of nonsense. Welcome, everyone.
Hold on here. I'm noticing, I think I'm popping. I'm going to turn my gain down. Gain down, volume up. Okay. Vicky got this really nice microphone called a Blue something.
Are you kidding me? Is it a Blue Yeti?
Yeah. Blue. Sam, is this called a Yeti?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
You are kidding. I just ordered one. It's arriving tomorrow.
Really? Okay, that's what I...
Yeah.
It'll take you some time to get used to it. But, like, I don't have a pop filter. But,
Oh, I've got a kit that has a pop filter.
I don't know. When she bought it for me for Christmas, I kind of made fun of her. Because I'm like, why do I just use the kid's microphone. Actually, Sam's got one, and I've been stealing his. Mm-hmm. But now I don't have to steal his, and I can keep it right here where I need it, and nobody else can take it. So, I guess, I guess she did pretty good with this. Anyway, we were going to talk about preppers because we were kind of talking over the weekend, and some funny things came up, and I thought, we should talk about some of this stuff.
Yeah,
and I'm hoping to kind of divide it into sections because there's people prep for different reasons. And there's kind of that political sect who think that the government's going to stop working and then it's just going to be chaos for everyone. And then there's kind of a weird set of people who really sincerely believe in a zombie apocalypse.
And, seriously? Okay.
Yeah.
I guess they have some theory about zombie viruses or something.
Yeah, and maybe they would say, well, any virus apocalypse, as if we've never had worldwide viruses
bubonic
that
plague or something.
Killed bunches of people, but
Spanish flu.
COVID, no. And then there's a group who make this a religious thing. And I think those people are they're the strangest out of all of them. But, I guess, I don't know. I guess we'll start with the political stuff because I can kind of see some of that stuff. But,
yeah, some of that is also techno-political. In fact,
what do you mean?
Well, it's not just, there's like two sides of political. There's the governments are going to fail and the world will be in chaos. And then there's governments are going to become so completely, using modern technology, so completely, I guess, micromanaging of the lives of their citizens that it'll become unbearable. And in order to escape it, people will go into a chaotic sort of a guerrilla way of living.
Right.
But, if we had been doing this podcast, 22 years ago, we would be talking about the Y2Kers, which is, obviously that's come and gone.
Yeah, and nothing happened. And if we had done it 10 years before that, we'd probably... Well, we're going to end up talking about that anyway because it's still a thing. We'd be talking about the 3 Days of Darkness.
Right.
But
the 1998 thing you're thinking about?
I don't know. I just know that we were all expecting it, and as to the point where even I was getting kind of worried about certain things. And then I started really thinking about the things that people were warning about and the predictions that people were making. I thought, wait a minute, this is just silly. This is dumb.
I remember one thing that I read back then being like the year 1998 was going to be the year because that's 666 times 3.
I see.
So obviously it didn't work. It didn't happen.
Yeah, and then they had these weird ones like, well, it was a blue moon on this day and on this day, which were big upheavals in the church. And this is the next blue moon in March with a 5-week month. So weird things like that, and they had come up with different days.
Yeah,
and it was like
as I was trying to come up with patterns. You know what? A lot of that, that sequence that you just described, I tried to figure out. I spent probably 4 to 8 wasted hours of my life, not all in one sitting, trying to figure out what this whole QAnon thing was, and it's a lot like that.
Really?
Weird patterns. Yeah.
I didn't know.
Oh, so-and-so said so-and-so. Wait a minute. They gave this number here and this number here. If you line those up, they form a Fibonacci sequence that ends on this number, which is a date coming up that we expect this big... I mean, it's like that.
I don't understand, though. I thought QAnon was a group kind of created by the left to make it look like there's a weird right-wing terrorist group.
Conspiracy theory.
And called them QAnon. For some reason, it was like, I thought it was something made up. I didn't think it
might have been something made up, but what? Oh no, yeah. There's people who take it very seriously, but what it started with is these sort of uncensored, social media things. Not like Facebook or Twitter. I guess there are a couple of uncensored ones, and there were some messages coming out from an anonymous source that were just cryptic, and the people who were in the know, which I'd use scare quotes when I say that, were able to figure out that these cryptic messages from this anonymous poster was really some top high-level government insider, thus Q, who was anonymously posting this stuff in order to reveal plans for stuff that was going down, and then people would take that and spin it into all kinds of crazy stuff. That's what the whole QAnon phenomenon was. Now, whether at the root it was something that was being spun and fed by liberals, or just people who were like so eager to believe that there was some single it's almost like they were substituting this for God. It's like they had this insane, I won't call it insane. They had this natural desire to feel like there was somebody on top from on high taking care of things, and he had a plan and things were going according to plan. And we just had to trust it and wait. It was that kind of a thing. Well, of course, that's how Christians see God. But we don't, we don't tie ourselves to an earthly.
He doesn't communicate to us cryptically. It's
he doesn't communicate. I mean, some of the things Jesus said are cryptic, but it's not like he's embedding like special clues that if we have the right kind of knowledge, we're going to be able to suddenly unlock all the secrets of his plans or anything like that.
Yeah.
But,
it's there for us all to see, and it's really what holds us back is our mostly it's sin that holds us back. I mean, we only have so much ability to think this stuff. We can only hold so much wisdom, and each one of us are able to do more than others. But what keeps us from fully understanding the gospel?
We've been talking for almost 10 minutes. Have we actually started the podcast?
I thought we had.
Did I just forget that?
Did I?
We said
we were going to
do
talk
it at the
about
end,
preppers.
and you can put it at the beginning.
No.
Yeah.
We said we were going to talk
started
about preppers.
saying that.
And then
I know.
And we said,
we decided,
hey, folks, welcome to a podcast about Catholic things. And then
well,
I started about the microphone.
Forgive me. Okay. All right,
so,
good.
Yeah, we have started. But we should get off this subject. What we want to talk about are preppers. I don't know. I was kind of thinking, let's talk about
people who are building compounds and stuff, right?
Yeah. Or even
in
just
preparation
stashing,
they're turning their homes into compounds.
Yeah. And some of them
stashing
just
toilet paper and aspirin.
All kinds of things. I knew a guy who would go in his basement and there was this wall of 22 ammo. He just
22?
he just kept buying 22 ammo. Remember back when it was kind of scarce? You couldn't get 22 ammo, which is kind of weird.
Unless you bought cheap Russian stuff that misfired about a third of the time.
That was a long time ago. Now back when they were selling AK-47s dirt cheap, I had bought from...
You bought a couple of SKSs, didn't you? Or at least one.
Yeah, well, I bought an SKS, and then I bought some ammo from this magazine. And then I also saw that you could buy, like, a few bricks of 22 ammo for real cheap. So I bought some. And it was weird. Aside from it, like, you could practically see the bullet leave the barrel. But aside from that, the shells were not brass. I guess they were steel, and they would stick in the gun.
I see. Okay.
So the only thing that I could really use to shoot it was a revolver, because you can push that thing and push all the shells out, because they would not eject from a rifle or from a handgun.
Right. And so you'd shoot around, like a revolver with 22s, it might be a 9-shooter instead of a 6-shooter.
Yeah.
But you'd shoot around, and there might be 3 that didn't even fire.
No, they all fired. I think they all fired.
I thought we had some that misfired.
They would go pop, and then...
Oh, okay. They just weren't all real strong.
Yeah. They were... Like the bullet landed in front of me instead of...
Either a low powder load, or maybe like the bullet was loose in the casing or something, and so it didn't...
I think the Russians figured that's how they would take us. They would sell us a bunch of cheap ammo.
They would sell us cheap ammo.
Anyway, I mean, people are collecting...
people stockpiling
ammunition.
Peanut butter.
And I just... You know, okay, Jason was in the military like 20 years ago. And he was only in the Guard. But he's telling me about...
but he got called up and deployed to Afghanistan, remember?
He did get deployed. But before he was deployed, he was just in the Guard, and he's telling me about the weapons that they have, that they're letting him see. And it was blowing my mind. I'm thinking, if we ever have to go against this army, forget it. If they really wanted to be at war with you, I can't see how you could win. The kinds of weapons he was describing.
Yeah, but here's the thing to keep in mind. In the United States of America, generally that's true, but I think unlike a lot of other countries, in the United States of America, the manufacture of weapons is done by contract to private companies.
Yeah. So
the government doesn't own the manufacturers of weapons. Like, for example, in Russia, you don't think...
Correct, yeah.
You know, so if it ever got to a point where it was so bad that the citizens of some critical mass decided that, okay, it's time to overthrow. Well, first of all, if it ever came to that, you know, probably a third of the army would be on the side of citizens anyway. But secondly, a lot of these manufacturing concerns that know the secrets of weapons, it's like, okay, now all bets are off. Yeah, we had to maintain secrets as long as it was national security, but now our government's become a tyranny. We're going to go ahead and use these secrets in order to protect ourselves.
You could think that way.
Has the possibility of happening in America in a way that it doesn't, for example, have even a possibility in, say, China or Russia.
I disagree. I mean, if it came to that, these giant companies would be the ones who are causing the problem. And we're seeing that now.
Yeah, because then they could sell the weapons. They would be able to make money.
Aside from that,
we
Facebook and Amazon and all the big companies, they're the problem.
I know, but there's two aspects to that. First of all, these companies are out. They don't want the loss of this globalist market that supplies them with, you know, a worldwide revenue stream. And the people that are in the Googles, the Amazons, these tech companies, these are children. These are people who did not grow these companies through the wisdom of business acumen and hard work and so on and so forth. They were in the right place at the right time. And they're largely children who have not learned the wisdom of normal civil discourse and so on and so forth. And so they have their ideals, their idealisms, and because they're children, they simply use all the tools they have to make the world they think as it ought to be. It's kind of like, take a 5-year-old and say, hey, you get to decide how the world's going to be. You get to make a world a great place. We're going to make you king. And what's a 5-year-old going to do? Well, that's the kind of phenomenon you have with these big tech companies.
Yeah, with the big tech companies, maybe, but Coca-Cola isn't like that. Delta's not like that.
No, they're more interested in the worldwide revenue stream.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess my point is that if right now the American people, not even the American people, the people, let's just say like the Trump crowd, if we were going to fight the government, we would lose.
Yeah.
And people who build up these giant stashes of ammunition, I don't understand what they think they're going to be able to do ever.
Right. Well, and that's where we get to the first kind of prep that they're, prepping for, the fall of governments. So the concern there is not, I might have to protect myself against the government. The concern is my government might go away completely, and then I have to protect myself from everybody else out there.
Okay. Well,
now,
I guess if there's a armed group of other citizens who seem to think that they should be able to get at you within this compound that you've built, I guess that's somewhat conceivable.
Yeah, it's kind of like people envision like the United States turning into, say, Somalia back in the 90s or something like that.
Okay.
You have rival warlords, and you want to make sure that your warlord is going to be able to protect you from the others, because it's all going to be territorial and that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. Which, if the world's going to go that way, I mean,
I don't.
Let me just sort of be picked off on a street corner for preaching the gospel or something, rather than having to live through that.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem like a good Catholic response to build up weapons. If everything's gone haywire and you're turning your house into some kind of compound, which means you expect people to be attacking you. If you're surrounded by the kind of people who would attack you, it makes sense to me that the best bet would be to get out of there.
Yeah. Go
rather than just sit there and shoot.
You're going to be with friends.
If you need that much ammunition,
with the people around you.
Yeah. How about that? Make friends.
Learn useful tools. Go read Foxfire books and stuff.
If you have to fire that many rounds of ammunition, then you're in the wrong spot. You should get out of there. And if you're thinking, if that's the case, then you can only carry so much, and you can't carry that many rounds of ammunition to another spot to build up, whatever. But it seems just kind of, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
Yeah. I mean, if, I get, but there is, and this is, I don't know if to call it the unfortunate thing, there is a sort of Christian mix with even many who are in that sense of preppers.
Right.
And I think that many of these people, okay, we're going to go ahead and take the weapons. Look at ancient Israel. They had weapons. They had spears and swords and I don't know, they had bows and stuff, bows and arrows. And they fought battles and fought wars. And what they had to do was follow the law of God, and then God protected them, and they would take 100 men and go up against 7,000 men and win, because God fought for them, and God would throw the enemy into disarray and various things like that. And I wonder if some of these preppers, if that's kind of their concept. Well, we're going to be the chosen people again,
right? In which case,
it'll be our job to reconquer the world on behalf of Christ, or something like that. Yeah, well, I mean, why need a stockpile? Just maybe turn to reusable weapons like spears and stuff, or bows and arrows and whatnot.
I can't imagine being in some kind of combat situation where you need that much ammunition and you still thinking that you're going to survive it somehow.
Yeah. If it takes that much ammunition, chances are you've already lost.
Yeah, because if either you're a really bad shot, but that's even in the case of like that happened in Seattle, that Chad or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean,
Chad. What was that called?
I can't remember now.
Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone. Chaz.
Yeah. So even if you're in a situation like that where you got, let's say it lasted even 2 months. Look, if you're firing that many bullets and hitting people, or even coming close to people, there's going to be some kind of buildup of bodies around you. I don't think people are going to keep bugging you. There's no way you would need that many bullets.
You could do like the old movies and stuff where you warn everybody away by putting heads on stakes in the ground or something like that.
Well,
yeah, that's okay. So that's one aspect of the prepping. They stockpile guns and ammo because they can see, okay, that might be useful, so let's get a lot of it.
Okay.
And then there's food. They stockpile, various kinds of maybe the non-perishable foods, certain other things like medications and stuff like that, hygiene products and so forth. So I think, aside from the analysis of the specific scenarios that they might be, that might play out for the use of weapons and so on and so forth, what about just, the concept behind it's all going to fall apart, and therefore what I'm going to do is protect myself by collecting a lifetime supply of everything that I might need.
Yeah, what are you going to do? Live off it
is
forever?
The very concept. That's the point. It seems to me the very concept of that is already broken because it's just simply part of the world and part of the way life works that you don't have a lifetime supply of something and then you keep going to it. You have to learn to get what you need by using the things that are around you.
Yeah. So at most, or at best, you collect enough to, I don't know, a season. Let's say that.
I don't know, maybe get you through. Yeah, you collect enough toilet paper to get you used to using leaves or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Because you can't just keep going to that forever. If it goes the way people worry about it going, eventually people are going to find out you have it. Then you start using all these guns. People hear the guns, say, hey, that guy's got guns over there. Let's go take them. I don't know. You could play that out 1,000 different ways. But here's kind of how I think about it. Because, but you know what? You got two different kinds of people. You got people who have a savings account, and you have people who have a checking account, and that's all they have. Oh. And the money goes in, but it's only there until it's spent.
You've got people with a savings, and you've got people who live paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah. And I'm a paycheck to paycheck guy, so obviously I'm not going to start planning for everything to go to, I could use that money for something else, but
right.
To try to store up for myself when I haven't even stored up enough for retirement. But I guess if you're the kind of guy who has your retirement, has everything planned out for you, you're comfortable. Well, now what do I do? I've still got an income. I could get a better retirement, or I could start saving up for something that might or might not happen. If it doesn't happen, it seems like kind of a waste.
That's what I was going to say. That are these people who are doing this. I know that the Bible and Jesus specifically tells us to be careful about planning too much for the future, putting too much stock in accumulating wealth.
He
need to trust
specifically says you don't
and that kind of
build
stuff.
Barns to hold all your belongings. Your belongings are fleeting, and
right. But at the same time, you take proper care to do what you can to see that you're going to be able to take care of yourself. So that might involve having a retirement plan. But
Yeah.
if what you're doing is taking all of your money and instead of putting it into some kind of a retirement, you're saying, well, the system's going to crash anyway, so rather than doing that, I'm going to buy aspirin and toilet paper. Well, then what if the system doesn't crash? Where are you going to be? You're going to sell back your toilet paper to someone in order to be able to live? I think that there may be a failure of prudence.
Yeah, there were people
some of these things
in the 50s and 60s doing the same thing because they thought we were going to have some kind of nuclear holocaust.
Oh yeah, build bunkers underground and stuff like that. Mm-hmm.
I was watching Taxi.
Stock it with enough to live down there for 2 years.
A couple weeks ago, and it was the one where Louis had this stash room in the back of the shop where he had planned out, like, I don't know, X number of months with all the food and everything, and he was planning. He was just prepping, and it's like this is a really old idea, and I guess it makes as much sense now as it did back then.
Yeah.
Because another part of all of this is there's kind of the assumption that there's going to be some isolation. And we're not really called to isolate ourselves. There are hermits, but generally the idea of prepping is to get enough for yourself and your friends and family and then keep everyone out. That's usually how it's built. You have a fortress to keep other people out. You have weapons to protect what you have. And then you've got a few choice people who you will allow into your compound. Not really the Christian way of doing things.
Yeah. That's.
And then here's the problem is that a lot of them have tied Christianity into this. And I hate to say this, a lot of traditional Catholics are.
Yeah, the ones that we would call traditionalists.
They've kind of turned it into a religious act.
Yeah.
The act of preparing
we won't
for
mention names, but
devastation of some sort. And I was one of those types of people is trying to convince our mother, well, you need to have this in place. You need a place to go when everything goes to pots. And she was telling me this, and I said, well, I mean, your friend is worried about you. Why don't you just go there? And she said, well, this friend is kind of already set up with their family, and they won't let anyone outside the family in. And I thought that was so odd.
That is weird.
Because that just, I mean, eventually what you get then are a bunch of brothers and sisters having more babies because they can't meet anyone else. And then you get weird mutations.
Inbred.
You've got like
inbred clans.
Yeah. You've got like the hills have eyes situation where it's a dumb way to plan.
Yeah.
I would think that the best, if you're going to plan for something like that, then the best thing to do would be to plan to have as many people come in to be on your side
as possible,
and to work and to organize the work so that everybody can benefit. That would be, if I were going to plan, that's how I would plan. I don't have money, so I can't plan anything, but well, I can start. I mean, we've always been into kind of, how do you do this without any technology involved? How do you farm? How do you raise animals?
I know,
like that.
exactly. We've kind of naturally been interested in that stuff. Well, there's that, and getting with people who have that kind of knowledge and developing that kind of knowledge. There's also kind of what our dad has always done, which is just being doggone friendly and somehow always having lots of friends,
right?
Who regard him well,
and being a person who's known to pretty much give anything to anyone. Jim Condit had a joke about him, is that you would go to him and say, do you have a pipe that came from a house built in 1920 and torn down in 1960? And he would say, let me look for a second. I think I might just have something like that. You know,
He'd go out in the barn and open a couple of his cabinet drawers.
Yeah, and then
in the back room behind his behind the automated hacksaw that he made.
Right.
In one of them, there would be.
Hey, this pipe just happens to be from a house.
I bought this at an auction right after that house was torn down. It was built in 1920. But
the thing is, if he had it and somebody asked for it, he would just give it to him.
He would. Yeah. Okay. And here you go. Yeah, that's the thing. Is have the most specific esoteric stuff, and have. It's not like he had an attachment to it. He would just have it to have it and give stuff to people.
He seems to have an attachment to this weird stuff because he just collects
He's got a lot of it.
But he loves to give it away.
He never begrudges it to anyone.
If
I mean, how many
asks
times
for anything,
Rick Schmidt would come over all the time, and Dad would, hey, look, let me show you what I got. And his standard line was, Dad, I bought one just like it last week. Because he didn't want it.
Yeah.
Dad's trying to give it away.
Yeah. Look at all my junk. How can you guys call this junk?
Yeah,
this is my treasure.
However, that's I guess more of the if you're gonna prep, just do that. Collect junk. Be a nice guy who makes his junk available to anybody, and know how to do things.
If there were some kind of disaster and each family kind of felt as though they were on their own, any family who need, like, hey, we need to get this generator working and we need a gear that looks like this, they would think of people like Dad, and they would show up and say, hey, we need help doing this. And he would just go help them because that's who he is. That would be a great way to prep. But storing up huge amounts of food and ammunition and guns, and then letting everybody know, don't come to our spot because we'll shoot you.
Don't come around here, we'll shoot you. Right.
Okay, you guys have fun out
seems
there.
Exactly the wrong thing. Yeah.
It's if the world goes that way, my thoughts would be, let's make it better. Let's,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what we're supposed to do.
It fell apart. Let's rebuild it. God gave us
it.
knowledge, and exactly. That there may be some danger, just like there's danger in modern neighborhoods. You've got crime areas, you've got gangs, that kind of stuff. There's danger in the world. Okay, there would be danger in that world too.
Yeah,
but you do it. You start rebuilding it,
and the more people that are there to help you, the less dangerous it becomes.
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of a no-brainer to me. But let's kind of step into that. And this is specifically a Catholic thing, is the whole 3 days of darkness.
The 3 days. That is a weird one. And here's the thing. That actually has some biblical roots.
I'm getting some coffee.
Okay, go ahead. You know what? Okay. All right. Let me look up. I'm going to Google. Let's see if Google. Yeah, there are some. I'm going to look biblical roots of 3 days prophecies. I think it's a combination of biblical 3 days of dark. Oh, there's a Wikipedia entry for 3 days of darkness.
Yeah, I've read it. I don't know.
I think part of the biblical root is that there may be some references to 3 days, but it's the 3 days of Christ in the tomb.
Yeah. Here's the thing. It started. I mean, when we first started hearing about it, it was like, okay, God's gonna plunge the world into darkness and do. The way I understood it is kind of a cleansing. Yeah. He's gonna get rid of the bad people, I guess. I don't know. But people started giving us these rules like, okay, if it happens, only blessed candles will work. That's the only light you'll be able to see. is from a blessed candle.
For example. Yeah.
And then there were weird ones like if you're outside, you won't make it because there will be demons roaming about trying to... I don't know if they're trying to kill people or just trying to...
gain entry to houses. So
yeah. And that was another thing. If you're in... normally I wouldn't talk about this, but I know some kind of smart people who are traditional and have a good head on their shoulders who believe some of this stuff. And so I think some of these weird things we should address specifically and say why they're just not true. For example, or at least they don't seem to be true. If you're in your house with, say, your kids and someone's at your door claiming to be one of your loved ones, like one of your kids or your husband or whatever, don't let them in because it might be a demon pretending to be your kid. And I don't really know what they think would happen. Like if you let the demon in your house, then like it's a vampire, you have to invite it before it can come in.
Like vampires, you invite and then they can come in and then you have no power to expel.
Yeah.
Like if you let the demon in, God can't protect you anymore or something like that.
Or chooses not to. I don't know. I mean, let's start with the fact that demons love to destroy things. They love to destroy us. And they'll do anything they can to bring us into hell. If they can't get us into hell, they'll do anything they can to inflict pain. There's only one thing that prevents them from doing that, and it's not us. And it's not some kind of magic spell. It's just God doesn't let them. That's all there is to it. So, if a demon is standing outside your house, the reason the demon can't come into your house is not because you've got some kind of, well, I guess blessings do actually work, but what's holding a demon back is God. And if you want to know whether or not that would be a danger during the 3 days, I guess just take away the 3 days. If somebody's standing outside your house if a demon's standing outside your house pretending to be your husband and you open the door for it, that doesn't just give it any kind of power over you because if it tricks you. I mean, that act of opening the door doesn't give a demon permission. You're opening the door for your husband. God's not going to stop protecting you just because you open the door for your husband. So whether it's during the 3 days of darkness or not. And then there were other things, like if you're in a house and the house is only protected if everyone in the house is in a state of sanctifying grace.
Yeah, I'm actually looking at the Wikipedia page for the 3 days darkness, and there's two I guess seers. One of them is actually a blessed Anna Maria Taigi.
Yeah.
Lived from the 18th into the 19th centuries. She describes the main 3 days event. There shall come over the whole earth an intense darkness lasting 3 days and 3 nights. Nothing can be seen, and the air will be laden with pestilence, which will claim mainly but not only the enemies of religion. It will be impossible to use any man-made lighting during this darkness except blessed candles. He who out of curiosity opens his window to look out or leaves his home will fall dead on the spot. During these 3 days, so that's where you remember about how you have to be ready to tape your windows up and all that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, that's right. You had to have black paint
remember
and silver paint to keep yourself from looking outside because
right. People should remain in their homes, pray the rosary, beg God for mercy. All the enemies of the church, whether known or unknown, will perish over the whole earth during that universal darkness. The air will be infected by demons who will appear under all sorts of hideous forms. And then there's another one, Marie Julie Gehenny, 19th to 20th centuries. Apparently a stigmatist. It doesn't say that she's blessed, but this is just Wikipedia. I don't know.
Yeah.
She expanded upon the 3 days, saying that will occur on a Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, when all of hell will be let loose to strike at those outside their homes, and those without a lit blessed candle of pure wax. These candles would miraculously stay aflame the entire period, but not light at all in the houses of the godless. And so that's the thing about having to put out
Okay.
anybody who's not habitually in a state of
So if
grace.
you can't get your candle lit, you got to throw. All
gotta-
right,
okay,
who
which of
here
you-
is not in a state of grace?
So you put everybody out and light it and let them in one at a time until it goes out.
Maybe that would work. As if
I know.
as if you've got some kind of secret window into everyone else's souls. I mean, we don't even know if we're in a state of grace. We trust in God for those things.
That's right. It's a trust. We trust in the sacraments. But like Paul said, you work out your salvation in fear and trembling.
Yeah. So you don't need to work out someone else's salvation. Well, you kind of do. You worry about it with your kids and your wife. It's your duty to lead them, but to identify them as the enemy, I mean, because they're a sinner. Well, I guess, okay, again, take away the 3 days of darkness. You let sinners in your house. I mean, you don't necessarily let them sin in your house, but
Yeah, but
I mean,
you allow people into your house.
No, you
in order
people
to-
can't come in here. You're not like me. You're not holy.
Right. It's kind of it's the same thing in reverse dynamic of Jesus going to sinners' houses,
Yeah.
which
and what
the
did
Pharisees
he do? He tried to
criticized him for.
evangelize.
He converted them. He said, follow me, repent of your sins, obey the Father.
So if you're trying to light a candle and it won't light, and you think somebody might be not in a state, hey guys, let's all really concentrate and pray an act of contrition. That would be the proper response, not to throw everyone out of your house.
Yeah. We're going to say, get on our knees, we'll say an act of contrition, and then we'll say a rosary.
Yeah, and let's keep praying that if one of us is not in a state of grace, let's pray that we find true contrition and repent. Then there was the grapes. Something about blessed grapes. I didn't quite understand that.
I was just Googling that. That's the so here's a CatholicSupply.com. 3 Days of Darkness products and preparation from CatholicSupply.com. No, but believe it or not, I Googled it, and the first two things. The first thing that came up, I just Googled 3 Days of Darkness blessed grape. Is a video on YouTube how to make blessed grapes for times of famine. It looks like a couple of kids in a kitchen, a boy and his friend. It looks like they're maybe, I don't know, 12, 14 years old.
Okay.
Catholic Supply of St. Louis, Inc. Interest, 3 days.
I don't know. I would say if...
Only blessed candles. I don't see grapes. Okay, they're not selling grapes.
Okay, here's the
But
thing
they
about
talk all
that.
about the blessed candles and things.
If we're at the beginning of this chastisement, and the idea is that you're not going to survive if you're with people who are not in a state of grace.
Mm-hmm. Not just not in a state of grace, but who are not habitually in a state of grace.
Okay.
Is what I heard.
I didn't even know that. So it's like if you got a sinner suddenly, I mean, people repent in the foxhole all the time. Maybe those aren't true conversions. I don't know. But, okay, here's my point though. Instead of being worried about staying alive and so having to throw out your friends, why are you scared if you're in the state of grace? What are you worried about? That you're going to die and go to heaven? Why do you care?
Exactly.
I mean, so what?
That's
we'll
the
die.
thing. I mean,
That's the most
Yeah.
that can happen, is that you die.
if I really believe that I'm in a state of grace, then I don't want to live. If the 3 days are as described, I'm not sure that I want to be on the other side of them. I'd rather just die and go to heaven.
Right. I certainly don't want to live on the other side remembering the fact that I threw a loved one out of my house because I thought they weren't in a state of grace.
And it's in a state of grace, that's right. Or that they came to my house and I wouldn't let them in because I thought they might be a demon.
Right. That would be a terrible thing to live with. I'll go ahead and open the door and take my chances with the demon. And if I die, then
I'll clutch my
it
rosary.
would be the
and
same
yeah.
way as if I see a man being killed, and I try to stop and help him,
You end up
and
getting
end
killed
up being killed.
too.
So,
Yeah.
okay, that's what happens.
Yeah,
because it's during the 3 days of darkness doesn't change that.
Right. It doesn't become sinful to extend charity to somebody just because it's during the 3 days.
Yeah. Now, see, when I don't know, I don't know what to say about the people who are worried about diseases, because we already know this happens. If a third of the population just died right now, do you really need your guns to protect what you have? Considering
Well, that's
there
true.
are 1/3 less
days,
consumers.
Well, not only that, but the 3 days is a religious purge. It's kind of like
Yeah.
that's
That's
kind of
how
like
it's set up.
all the Israelites after when Moses was up on Mount Sinai receiving the law from God, and they made Aaron prepare a golden calf. But according to him, they didn't make him prepare it. We just put this gold in the oven. It came out in the shape of a calf. But anyway, God basically purged Israel after that. It would be like that. So at the other side of it, everybody that's left is a friend of the church.
So you don't need them guns.
You don't need the guns.
Except the hunting, but...
Yeah, you just need, stuff to be able to hunt with. You don't need your house to be a compound.
Right. Of course, people, as far as hunting goes, let's say there was only 1/4 of the people in the United States that there are right now. 3/4 of the people have died.
Okay.
There is not enough game in the United States to sustain those people for very long. We don't have a whole lot of game because we've killed off most of the game so that we can do farming and stuff like that instead.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
So it's like preparing for this long ordeal where you're going to live off the land. Well, I guess you could live off the land, but
you
you're
could
gonna
live off
farm
the
it.
land, but it's going to be
You're going to grow animals.
It's not going to be a meaty diet unless you also learn to grow some animals too.
Yeah. You're not going to become like the Indians where we live in the woods and there's already too many people and there's already not enough animals. So another system has to be come up with. And if
we have to develop,
if we're going to go for more than a year, then we have to come up with it pretty fast. And all the prepping probably isn't going to help you a whole lot.
So you shouldn't be turning your house into a compound in the suburbs of a large city. You should be buying up huge tracts of land in places like Montana and Texas and stuff like that.
Yeah, and if I don't think you need to turn it into a compound. And I guess if there's no law, people can take it from you, but they could do that anyway. So
I mean, if it's on the one hand, if it's the worldwide government collapse apocalypse, that's one kind of thing that implies a certain kind of preparation, which to me, trying to say, okay, it's going to be just us and everybody else we're going to shoot is the wrong way to go for that. If it's the 3 days you're concerned about, you just prepare your soul and you don't worry about it, because here's the thing about biblical and private revelation prophecies. You don't necessarily know exactly what it's going to look like until after it happens.
Yeah. You usually have no idea. There's no... Okay. We'll move on to the diseases. Okay, first of all, there's no zombie... Yeah, there's no zombie virus. There can't be zombies. Some people really believe in zombies. They really do. And it's not possible. Everything stops working when you die. And God kind of made it that way so that when you have life, you're full of life and your body keeps regenerating, and then when you die, all of it stops. And that body can't be reanimated by a virus or anything of the kind. But let's say a virus like rage. which was in, what was that movie? 28 Days Later. I think, to me, that's, okay, I Am Legend, yeah, it kind of turns them into a different kind of thing. Oh, you're not even on the mic? Alright. Okay. So so in I Am Legend, probably the best zombie type movie ever made. Close to it.
Okay, back on mic.
But, and in that case, the people are turned into something, well, in the book, they're just turned into vampires.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then in the movie, they're just, it's like some other species almost.
They're turned, right. It's kind of like they're turned into, I mean, you can imagine, I suppose, a person who has some kind of a disease that makes them, say, bloodthirsty, but in a way that there's almost no real mental capacity. Okay.
Yeah. That's kind of
turns
what,
into that. And I guess that's what people think.
I think 28 Days Later was probably the scariest zombie movie ever made. Because I've never thought zombie movies are scary.
Oh, I gotta watch that then.
But 28 Days Later
I get bored
is
with
good.
zombie movies.
It gives you a kind of a sick feeling, though. It's disturbing. It's a very disturbing movie.
I'll have to keep that in mind then.
Yeah, not with, you don't really have little kids anymore, but you definitely wouldn't watch it with kids.
No, I watch.
I don't even know if you'd
myself.
watch it with your wife, unless your wife likes those kinds of things.
Like them. No, I gotta go watch them on my own.
Yeah.
I watch them after she's gone to bed, and I open my computer and watch them.
That's definitely one you'd watch on your own then.
Okay.
Because it's kind of disturbing. But anyway, I guess maybe something like that could happen, in which case, okay, I can kind of see having a lot of ammunition would be helpful. But still, I'm thinking a lot, okay, if you're in the city, the thing to do would be to try to get out of the city. Not to fortify,
Because there's going to be more of them in the city too?
Yeah, because there's a whole bunch of crazy people in the city who are attacking everything and trying to kill everything. So just leave the city. And you would need enough ammunition to get out of there, but you can only take what you carry, so why build up that much?
Yeah, that's a good point. And the thing about that is, assuming a weird virus meltdown of the human race like that, it doesn't even make sense to say, oh, okay, I'm going to set up a compound and provide for my family. Viruses have a way of leaping barriers.
Yeah.
You can't assume that you and yours are not going to just get the virus anyway.
Right.
So you do what we always continue to do in times of crisis, at least when our bishops allow us to, is you flock to the churches. You put yourself in front of the Blessed Sacrament and beg mercy from God.
Yeah. And then if there's some kind of, if it did happen, it's not like everybody would stay alive in that state for a very long time.
Right.
Eventually it would kill everyone. Hold on. Well, we should finish that card tomorrow, so. All right. Vicky just walked in from going out and doing something. I didn't know she was gone, actually.
Oh.
But it makes sense, because I haven't heard her talking, and I've never not heard her talking, except for when she's not here.
Well, okay.
I just didn't notice.
Yeah. Okay, the other thing, though, is let's assume you don't get this virus and you've got a few close family who don't get it.
Uh-huh.
Maybe there's something genetic you have that's in your family and maybe a few other families. Well, now this isn't we're not talking about like the 3 days, which is a God purge where everybody who's left alive is a friend of the church. This is just going to be a random thing. And among those who did survive, many of them are not necessarily going to be nice people who are going to want to get together with you and rebuild things. They're going to be suspicious of everybody, and there's going to be a lot of kill before you're killed going on. well, then what? How much ammo are you really going to be able to make use of? And
in the end,
again,
you've got what you have, and then it can't last forever if you're trapped in it. I don't know. It's
all of these scenarios. I just can't help thinking, if you're a Christian, the preparation you do is by developing a close relationship with God and staying in the state of grace.
And when you do that, you also tend to develop relationships with the people around you, because part of that means being charitable and helping people when you can help them, doing community work or whatever.
Right.
So that really should be the prep that a person does.
Okay. So a true prepper, a Christian prepper, is somebody who is constantly doing charity for others and has a solid spiritual prayer life.
Yeah.
And spends time in front of the Blessed Sacrament.
I'm going to put you on a spot.
Okay.
I
don't do those things. You're going to ask. I'm not a true prepper. I need to be, but I'm not.
No, what I was going to say is in the one of the parables that Jesus tells is I think it's a steward who is fired.
Oh, yeah.
And right away he goes out to the people who owe the master money and say, I'm going to let you off X number of dollars. Mm-hmm. What is that? Have you ever read an explanation for that?
Yeah, and they all... Am I allowed to say they suck?
Yeah.
No, they all leave me unsatisfied. Here's where I see it. So we all sin, okay?
Yeah.
But we're also all stewards unto each other. And so I think, to me, the way to interpret... Now, if I look in the broader context, maybe there's something that happened right before it that makes this not really work as a good explanation for the parable. But I think of this in terms of, I'm going to take that which God gives me, the graces that I'm available or that I'm able to get from Him, the opportunity to use the graces that He won for me on the cross.
Yeah.
That we get to participate in. And what am I going to do with those graces? I'm going to try to use those and apply them through my prayers, through my penitential acts and so forth, to all other souls, to sinners that need to be converted, to the poor souls in purgatory and everything else, so that when I go before God then, they're going to take care of me.
Okay.
That's how I see it. And I haven't read an explanation that is that, and I haven't read an explanation that sounds better than that.
Yeah. I haven't looked into it, but it came to mind while you were while we were talking about this, and the fact that prepping
reaching
really
out to
means
others and
developing
those
relationships and stuff like that. So
right.
It just, I was curious how you saw that. I've thought about that several times, and I think I looked it up once or twice. I didn't really care for the explanation.
It's one of those parables that nobody that I've read about it. And the thing is, it's too startling of a parable to have a easy, glib explanation.
Yeah. It
it's
seems
one
like
of those
there's something...
All of the obvious things that people say, it's like, no, that's too obvious, and that's too lame to warrant a parable like this.
Yeah.
Is how it comes off to me.
Seems like a waste of words for that to be the explanation.
Yeah, for Jesus to have made that point with that parable. Exactly.
Yeah. I can't think of too much more on this.
Okay, so we've covered government collapse. We've covered 3 Days Darkness, which is the big Catholic one. And then we've covered virus apocalypse or zombie apocalypse or whatever you want to call it. 28 days later, I gotta... I guess Bird Box falls into that too. Did you ever see that movie Bird Box?
No.
I guess Netflix made a movie. I became aware of it as a book because I buy books on my Nook reader.
Yeah.
And I like horror books and stuff. And I've come across it a few times, and it's one of those that I've looked at, and based on the explanation, it's like, should I bother reading it or not? I've never bought it, and I ended up not buying it and not reading it. But then I noticed that Netflix made a movie version of it with Sandra Bullock,
Oh,
Yeah,
wait a
it's
minute.
one of the.
Is that the
You
one
can't
where...
open your eyes and look outside.
Yeah, okay.
It reminded me of that aspect of the 3 days. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's trying to travel with her kid. And there's something about the birds. The birds keep whatever it is away, or they start tweeting when you need to cover your eyes or something. I forget exactly what it is. But she's taking her 2 kids to get to this sanctuary.
Yeah, and
where they can live.
She goes on the river. I don't know.
Yeah.
Have you ever tried to navigate a river without looking?
Blind.
I don't think it's
I don't
possible.
see that as. Yeah. You've got to really, really, maybe. I don't know.
Mythbusters did a
Lewis and Clark with their Indian guide. Maybe.
Yeah. Mythbusters did a episode where they wanted to test direction without the use of eyes. And no matter what form of travel, you do not have a sense of direction without your eyes, period. You just don't.
So I have heard that there are one of these 1 in a million type people in the world that actually do have direction without their eyes. They can be blindfolded, walk through a maze of corridors, and it's like they've got a magnet in their brain or something.
And you know what? I guess I shouldn't say that. You can use other senses. I mean, I guess if you're walking toward a sound, you could do that.
Oh, you mean just like being able to walk in a straight line?
Right. You can't.
I thought you meant.
In a straight
I thought you
line.
meant like geographical direction, north, south, east, west.
No. I mean.
Oh.
I mean, if you cover your eyes, you can't go in a straight line.
Maintaining direction, but not even blind people. Because, I mean, they've got years of practicing it by keeping their hand out on a wall. They don't learn that eventually to be able to just do it?
Well, I would assume they would, but you put someone in a field and say, there, walk straight. You're not going to walk straight.
And they never do. Okay. So
every test that they did, people didn't. And then they said, okay,
that makes sense. Yeah.
Get in this boat
and
row straight or swim straight or all kinds of different things. And it just wasn't going to happen without the use of eyes.
There's so many corrections that you make because of your eyes. Yeah, you can make up for those if you never have eyes, but your body relies on that so much that, yeah, I would tend to have expected
I guess my point
is,
is,
that test.
If you get in a boat on the river and close your eyes, you're probably going to drown.
Mm-hmm. You'll either drown by running into something or you'll just plain go downstream.
Yeah. I guess you could. That could happen, but if you have rapids,
yeah, forget it.
Yeah,
you can't figure out you can't feel your way through rapids,
right?
If they're the kind of rapids that requires
skill,
interacting with the boat, shifting weight and stuff like that. You can't just feel your way through that.
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, we've covered everything now. So you want to prep. The Holy Eucharist, the Rosary, solid prayer life, works of charity.
That's your
prep.
That's your best prep. You can learn things, learn how to farm.
Go out and learn. Read the Foxfire books. Go buy the Foxfire books. Nobody has them anymore. I need to get myself a set. Yeah, I've got 2 of them.
They're great books. I've got 3 or 4, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I remember finding those as a teenager. I thought, this is so cool.
Dad had the whole set. Mom and Dad had the whole set. I don't know where those are now. I bet they were in the barn.
No, they had 1 and 2.
No, I remember seeing 8 of them or something.
You're thinking Granny B had a bunch of them.
Oh, maybe that's what I'm thinking. Yeah, Grandpa would have been one to buy those.
But did you ever? It's not just that it shows you how to do these things.
No, it's more like their life.
Record the stories.
Yeah, it was their stories.
These old people sitting there talking. I thought it was just fascinating.
It's kind of like it's kind of like the book version of there's an artist. His name is Paul Murray, and he you can Google him and you'll see some of the pictures. I've got some of his original prints, some of his actual drawings.
Oh yeah.
And he would go and meet and earn the trust of these people that lived in the Tennessee hills. He had his studio in Gatlinburg. I've been in it a few times and I bought some stuff from him. But he would go and meet these people, and he would draw their faces. He was really, really good at capturing faces. And, you know, like there was this old, and he always included a story about the person on the back of the print. But, you know, like there's this old lady, and it's like she had never been beyond like 6 miles from the place that she was born her whole life.
Yeah.
I mean, now most of the people that he drew and painted are dead and gone now.
Right.
But he would capture their stories, and I think he's given up his studio, and now he's like teaching art or something like that. This was like maybe in the last 5 or 10 years since the last time I was down there.
It would be really neat to get some of this.
Every time we go there. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. And he had a book. You know how you can buy like books of prints and stuff, and he had a book that I kind of wish I mean, it was expensive. But I kind of wish I had bought it now because he's not making those anymore. But every time I've gone to Gatlinburg,
just for the stories.
Yeah. So anyway, the Foxfire books are kind of like Paul Murray except in book form.
Yeah, and you could learn to do all kinds of things like building log cabins, starting a fire, just
shingling your house.
Yeah. They had one for making dolls. They had one for making a gourd banjo.
Oh, no kidding.
And I thought about making it, and I tried to grow a gourd.
Yeah, that's the first thing. You got to be able to grow a gourd.
You have to grow the gourd first, and it has to be in the right shape. Otherwise, you can't do it.
So you need a gourd patch, and then you got to pick the one that's in the right shape.
Yeah. Well, you almost have to grow it.
Oh,
you
okay.
have to.
Okay.
You have to lay it out so that it has a real long neck.
Yeah.
And then you could do it that way and keep it growing in the right direction.
So,
but I'm not patient enough to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess we'll talk about the news.
All right, news.
There's not much out there, really. I mean, okay, ISIL's on the rise again. There was a big attack in Syria. They kidnapped a bunch of people. They're saying one of those people are dead. Some of them have been released, but yeah, ISIL's back.
Yeah, okay.
Right now it's
Trump's
just in
gone,
Syria
ISIL's back.
and some other remote areas, but we'll see. And then Russia is still doing the thing with Ukraine. You know, they're...
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I would say pretty soon Ukraine's going to be part of Russia. That's what it looks like.
Is there going to be, with Russia worried about China and therefore, you know, wanting to reestablish their own foothold as a preemptive defense against an expanding China, are we going to see a resurgence of the Soviet Union?
Well, I've always heard that Putin wants to rebuild the Soviet Union.
And maybe this is his excuse.
Yeah.
I mean, if you step out of it, take the United States out of the picture and just look at Russia, a world with Russia and China, you can't blame Putin for that. I mean,
right.
It's both Putin and who's the prime minister in China or whatever.
Because it's not like the old days where either one of them are really committed or loyal to the party anymore. They are nationalists now.
Right. Both China and Russia, they're nationalists.
I think America's the only one who's not nationalist now. Everybody else is looking out for themselves.
That's right.
It's insane.
There's never going to be a communist kumbaya moment between Russia and China.
Right.
And the problem is, if we don't have a strong America to keep them both at bay, the whole world's going to get caught in a crossfire between China and Russia.
Yeah. You know, even during Vietnam, I mean, Nam was getting, they were getting supplies and money from both sides, from China and Russia. Russia wanted them to go easy, and I think China wanted them to hit harder against the U.S., and they were trying to decide which one of them to accept more help from. And
okay. Because help comes with strings.
Yeah, even then, there was they were racing each other. But then somehow they figured out how to make money on the U.S. I guess that goes back to Kissinger. And
especially China. China figured it out in ways that Russia didn't.
Yeah, definitely.
Which makes China more dangerous right now.
Much more dangerous. Speaking of China, they're still in Taiwan's airspace, and they're getting more and more aggressive. I don't know. I see Taiwan going the way of Hong Kong. I don't know enough about those things to really say that with any kind of authority, but that's kind of the way it looks.
Yeah, and I think that the kind of unshakable truth of it is that, especially with
stop them.
Yeah, with the removal of Trump from the White House, China is really feeling its oats right now.
Yeah, it just looks dangerous right now. Italy, they've repealed a 1913 law which gave the government the power to censor or ban films. So they've repealed that, and now the government cannot censor film in
based
Italy.
On anything. And what
That's
does it mean
what
by
I don't
censor?
know. Does that mean
like they can't say, "Hey, you got to be an adult to see certain films," stuff like that?
Right. I don't know. I couldn't find out. I don't know if that means like child pornography is now legal
or any. I mean, does it mean that children can watch pornography, and the government can't do anything about it?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's okay. Yeah,
or maybe it's one of those cases where it's like, okay, we're not going to censor the child pornography, but you will be arrested if you own it. I guess they could do something like that.
Maybe that's. But that's because America has always had a really strong free speech ethic, but in our, even to the extent that it might extend to films, music, entertainment, and that kind of stuff, the ethic was this idea that you can't censor ideas.
Yeah,
you have to allow them. You have to allow society to engage them. You have to allow them to play out. You can't censor ideas. That doesn't mean you can't censor indecency, but it sounds like right. Italy is maybe going that way.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, there was a 28-year-old man who was arrested. They claimed that he was attempting to blow up an Amazon data center as part of a plot to disable the internet.
Is this in the U.S.?
Yeah. Now, they said he was also in the storming of the U.S. Capitol. I can't believe they're still calling this a storming.
A storming? Yeah. Okay, I don't believe that for a minute.
Yeah,
because everybody who was involved in the storming of the U.S. Capitol has been under such heavy federal scrutiny that there's no way that they're getting anywhere near some kind of conspiracy to blow up Amazon or anything else. That's just complete balderdash that anything like that happened.
That's kind of how I saw it. Iran is continuing to enrich uranium. And see, here's the thing that...
And guess who's going to protect them if anybody tries to do anything?
They're claiming it's because we withdrew from the Iran deal because of Trump. And so they're trying to use this as an excuse that we need to have this deal again and end up paying a bunch of money to Iran.
Pay us not to develop nukes.
Yeah, I think that's what all this is. And then on top of that, I guess there was at one of the nuclear facilities where they're enriching the uranium, there was a power outage. Now they're claiming that it was a cyber attack carried out by Israel.
Okay.
New York Times is saying that it was because of sabotage caused by explosive devices that had been smuggled into the site. I think they just had an accident because they're incompetent and they had a power outage.
But you know what? If Israel did do it, more power to them.
Yeah. I mean, that's if they're making a nuclear bomb, that's the direction they're looking anyway. So
Yeah. So Israel's got kind of every right to do that.
yeah,
And,
police officer.
hold on.
Go on.
I just want to put it out there. If Iran is going to say, pay us in order not to develop nukes, I think our response would be, how about we just nuke you instead?
Yeah, that would work. So, okay, there's that another shooting in Minneapolis. A bunch of rioting there. You know this...
Wait, is this the school one? I thought is it Minneapolis? There was another school shooting.
No,
Is
I'm
this
not
what
talking
this
about
is, or
the
is this
school
different?
shooting. This is
Okay.
a police officer pulls over a guy. The guy tries to take off, and the cop... Okay, here's the way I heard it explained. And I didn't watch any videos about this because I get tired of these things. But the way I heard it explained is he did what in training you would do if you were going to tase someone. There's a certain process you have to say you're going to tase them, and he did these things. Oh,
Okay.
okay.
So he did all of them.
She. Okay, it's a
cop
girl
is a
apparently.
she?
I thought it was a guy cop, but it's a girl cop. She did what she was supposed to
followed
do
protocol.
if she's going to tase someone. Only she
Okay.
didn't pull the taser out, she pulled her gun out. And,
Oh.
quote, accidentally shot the man.
Are they like side by side on her belt or something? I guess that must be.
I have no idea. I think there was question whether one hand is used for the gun and one hand is used for the taser.
That's what I thought.
and
Put them on opposite sides.
I don't know. I don't know how that
Okay.
could happen, but I'm not trained in that kind of stuff, and
Yeah.
it seems
sounds
unlikely
tragic.
to me, but I don't know.
But here's the thing. Okay, regardless of the cop's mistake, every idiot ought to know you get pulled over, you put your hands on the steering wheel, and you use terms like yes sir, yes ma'am,
Yeah.
and you just walk it through. Okay, they may be abusing their power, but they do have the power to abuse, even if they're abusing
Right.
it. So you, in the interest of your own safety, you just go along. If you end up in jail because of their abuse of power, okay, you get your lawyer to handle it afterward. You explain everything to your
Yeah.
lawyer, but you
Yeah.
don't challenge the authority then, at that point, during the encounter. Everybody should know that.
And the thing is, if you feel like, okay, I don't want to submit to this and turn over with my belly exposed. Instead, I'd rather kind of give the cop a hard time. There are
Yeah.
ways to do it without giving them cause to shoot you.
Yeah,
Like,
there's
You can
certain
mention the
passive-aggressive.
fact that you're being you can say
Harassed.
certain things.
say, hey, I think
That-
I think
Okay. Hold on. What was your badge number? And
yeah,
things like that.
I'd like to see your badge. Everybody can say
I've-
that. A cop can't
I've done
shoot you
things
for that.
like that.
Yeah,
And I've even gone back to a scene where the cop was and said, "You know what? It didn't occur to me. I don't know your badge number, and I need that."
yeah.
He actually threatened me and told me if I called it in, he was gonna show up at my house. I said,
He just gave
I
you a
just
reason
kept
to
saying,
call it
okay, yes, sir.
Yeah, that's the
I'll
thing.
see you in
It's,
court. There are ways to deal with it where you don't get shot.
right.
So
right.
I don't know.
You
But
got to learn.
I don't know about this. Either way, it's no reason to burn a city down.
No. I mean, if you want to take the police academy to task for not training properly, if you want to fire the cop for incompetence and maybe for negligent homicide,
Yeah.
that
You could do that.
there's things to do, but you don't burn a whole city down because of a stupid thing like that. I don't mean stupid in the sense that it doesn't have gravity. I just
Right.
mean that it's a encounter between two people that went wrong. You don't burn a city
Right.
down for that.
Yeah. Let's see. China's talking about another flu H5N6. This is not the one that we had been reporting on last year.
No, we had been doing H5N8. Huh.
This is something that they
flu.
said they haven't seen. Let's see. They first saw it in 2020, I guess. And they hadn't seen it since then. But now they're seeing it again in wild birds. You know, it occurs to me that Asians have a serious problem with coming up with new flus.
Why don't we take and help them out and rebuild and make higher the doggone Great Wall of China and go ahead and extend it around the rest of the country too and just don't let them out.
Yeah, keep them
and then
all
we
in
won't
there.
have these diseases.
You know, I was listening to... Who was I listening to? I think Dinesh D'Souza. He was describing the Black Plague.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently that came from somewhere in Asia, too.
Yeah. Like the Mongols carried it, or gave it to...
Right.
Brought it or something like that. Yeah,
It just seems like...
I think so. Everything
seems
comes
like
from China.
all these things are coming from China. They've got
Everything
to be doing
bad
something
comes from
wrong.
China. Yeah.
Doesn't it ever occur to them, well, maybe we're doing something to cause these flus
what is it about how we live that causes these things?
I wonder if it's the chopsticks.
No, I don't. I like using chopsticks. I use chopsticks.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, not for my normal
You get a
meals at
lot
home,
more with a spoon or a fork.
But if I go to, like, a Japanese restaurant or something, I'll ask for chopsticks.
I don't
and I'll use them.
understand. They put
I get as
rice
much on a
in
chopstick.
everything. They're tiny
Yeah, I
little
know.
beans,
Yeah, no.
and then you use a chopstick. It's like, why don't you use a spoon?
When a spoon, I wouldn't use a spoon for rice anyway. I'd use a fork. And when I use a chopstick
Okay, a fork.
to eat rice,
But chopsticks?
I just-
to pick up
I
one
just-
of those.
no, I don't pick up one at a time. I use the chopsticks and I put them close together like a fork, and it picks up a mouthful of rice, and I eat it. And then I can use them to also pick up, meats and stuff like that, vegetables, whatever. But when I eat rice with them, I kind of use them like a two-pronged fork, and it just works.
Well, I think they're spreading bird flus.
Okay. Well, you know what? I'll use some. I'll spray alcohol on my chopsticks next time.
Spray your chopsticks. There's something wrong with them. They're
You know,
causing
though-
all kinds of problems.
Although who knows? Because chopsticks, I go to a restaurant and I get a brand new pair of chopsticks. It's wrapped in paper. I open it up. I use them. I leave them there, and I leave, and I'm sure they get thrown away. And
Yeah.
they're usually made of bamboo or whatever. But who knows how they really do it in China? It could be
Yeah,
that,
maybe
that people
they're
carry
wood.
around their chopsticks, and they've got these bamboo chopsticks, and they carry them around. They use them, and then they stick them in their shirt pocket and go
Yeah.
on. Who knows? That could be what's
It's
going on.
not like a fork that could be easily washed off. I mean, it's wood. It absorbs and harbors germs, and they stay there.
Yeah, you've got to actually sanitize it if you want to kill the germs.
Yeah. And even then, it gets down into the fibers
probably-
of wood, so
They probably just rinse it off and
be
stick it in
hard
their
to do
pocket.
it. That
So-
combined with the dog meat, I think those two things could be causing the problem.
And then other weird Asian things, like aren't they the ones that harvest coffee beans that cats have pooped out and stuff like that? And
I don't know who does that. Jason
I
was
thought
talking
that was
about
some
that.
Asian
I don't know.
country that did that. I don't think it's
It
South
sounds like
American.
an
I think
Asian
it's
thing.
Asian.
All right. Or
But,
India.
They do weird stuff.
Well,
yeah, it could be
yeah.
India. Could be India. Yeah. So anyway,
So
just eat normal
this-
stuff like steaks.
Yeah, just grow some cows
My son once
and get a
told me,
fork.
He said, even though a single cow can make, I'm going to get the numbers all wrong. Even though a single cow can make like 13,000 hamburgers, a typical single hamburger has meat from typically over 1,000 cows in it.
Yeah, I believe it.
Now, when
No,
he
I
told me
don't
that,
believe it actually.
he told me that, and I said, a single cow can make 13,000 hamburgers. I don't think cows are very good at handling spatulas.
Yeah. With the hooves. Be like trying to make them with chopsticks.
That's right.
So
Okay.
this this last one, this could be nonsense news. The French lawmakers have voted to ban airlines from offering domestic flights if the same journey could be made by train in less than 2.5 hours.
Huh. Is this just something under consideration, or they've actually passed it and it's a law now in France?
It just says French lawmakers vote to ban.
Vote to. Okay.
So maybe
weird.
it didn't pass. I would hope it didn't pass. It seems like a dumb
it's stupid.
thing to make a law about.
Yeah.
Do they have this problem, really, that airlines are flying too short of distances and using too little gas or something?
Or too much gas per flight? Because it takes a lot of gas to take off.
If people are going to pay for it.
I think this is an issue of...
They made these trains, and they have to justify them now.
Well, that could be going on. I was thinking
this
is just an issue of people having, lawmakers having too much time on their hands and having to come up with stupid laws to make. It's like...
Yeah.
Well,
it's
we
like
ought to come up with some laws.
In Cincinnati, they made this... nobody really knows where this came from, but they decided to make... And this is like within the past 5 years. Mm-hmm. Let's make a train track that goes around downtown Cincinnati.
Oh.
And it costs millions and millions
like the Detroit
of dollars.
People Mover. Yeah.
Yeah. It costs a ton of money. And
does anybody use it?
Nobody uses it. It's dumb. It's on a track. We have
Detroit
buses.
has something like that. Yeah, I mean, we have buses. Detroit has something like that. I don't know if it's on a track or if it's more like a tram on wheels, but it goes around the downtown because Detroit has interesting places downtown. People can go down there, go clubbing. They've got a casino down there and that kind of stuff. And so it gets people close enough that they can walk to one interesting place after another. They call it the People Mover. And it goes by places where you can park and stuff like that.
Okay, I guess if we had tourists who came in and wanted to go from one spot to another,
But people, or even just locals that do clubbing, but nobody... I haven't lived in Cincinnati for a while, but it seems to me that all the nighttime action is across the river.
It is, because of stupid things like this.
Yeah.
And they pass these weird things. So, I mean, this is right. This is after Uber got big. So it's like, why are you guys doing this? People just Uber.
They should have been able to see, once you have Uber, there's no point in building stuff like that.
It's also after buses were made.
And Cincinnati,
you're not bound to a track on a bus.
I don't know how the buses are run from a business model in Cincinnati. I don't know if it's run poorly or if it's run well. But one thing I do know is that I have always been able to get anywhere I want to go on a bus in Cincinnati.
Yeah, you generally can. There's a couple neighborhoods that, like certain neighborhoods, people will keep the buses out of them. So when Metro plans on putting a bus there, people will keep them out on purpose to keep low-income people out.
Oh, okay. But
which I think is kind of a shame, but
yeah, it is.
I just don't care. But the thing is, the train doesn't go there, first of all. Second of all,
it's just around
ever
downtown.
Since then, they keep trying to do things to get people on this train. For example...
So what is around downtown? I mean, is it like from Plum Street over to, like Sycamore or something, and then First Street up to, like 13th or so?
I have no idea. I've never even looked at the map. I don't go downtown unless I have to go down there to fix a machine. So I know there's a casino down there. There's a lot of
casino now.
Supposedly good restaurants, and then there's
new to me.
There's the stadiums and stuff like that.
Got the stadium, yeah. I mean, I could see, you go to the stadium and then you want to go out, get something to eat afterwards while you're downtown, go to someplace fun. But
there's all that stuff.
A train? I mean, just carpool, or get an Uber or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, these days there's no reason for that. I bet there are fleets of Uber people who just hang out in the parking lot down under the stadium or whatever.
Yeah.
By the river.
But it costs so much money, and it's been nothing but a headache since then. And it keeps costing more money. And then, like, this company, Bird, came in and dropped off all these scooters.
Now,
one
I've
day.
seen the scooters in
so
Indianapolis, and they get used.
They're doing
a lot.
everything they can to get rid of them.
Why? Oh, because
they did at
think
first.
people are going to use the train at first.
I think that's
use
what
the
they
train
thought.
afterwards?
Maybe more people will use the train if we get rid of the scooters. But
I think the scooters was a great idea. I see people using them all the time in Indianapolis.
Yeah, it's an
and
awesome
they've got charging
idea.
It's electric. They've got charging stations everywhere, but they don't take up a lot of space.
You don't have to charge them. Well, no, this isn't run by the city. This is just a company who dropped them off.
No, it's exactly. Yeah.
There's no charging station. They just go around each night and pick them up.
Oh, they just round them up and replace them or switch the batteries
and
out or
they're in
whatever.
different spots of the city.
maybe
You use it to go somewhere, and then you walk away from it and you leave it there.
You're just there, yeah.
And you don't worry about it. And then maybe it's there when you get back, or maybe someone else has brought one there or taken it.
Right.
You just walk until you see one.
Yeah, and there's enough of them that you'll find one within a couple of blocks.
Yeah, and it's kind of because I've got my backpack. My tool bag is a backpack now, so I park wherever I have to park, and then it's like I got to walk 3 blocks. Hey, there's a scooter. Let me hop on that.
Grab that, yeah.
And just makes it easier, and it's much better than a train.
I was going to say
rolling through the middle of the city.
You don't miss the train when you use a scooter.
Cities do stupid things like that. And then they make dumb laws to try to keep people, to try to justify the fact that they wasted all that money on a train.
Yeah.
And I have to wonder if that's what the French are doing.
That makes a lot of sense. Anything in Europe is like that.
Yeah.
And as we've seen in the United States, because we grew tremendously prosperous and powerful on this model of you let people figure it out for themselves.
Yeah.
And they'll come up with the best solutions. Whatever solution you can plan in some government committee is going to turn out to be stupid compared to what people will figure out if they're just left to do it on their own. For whatever problem it is.
Yeah. Well, that's the way it used to be. We'll see.
Yeah,
that's all I got.
Okay, I got a few things. Let's see. I have actually 3 things specifically. One of them is so you've had, Mounties, police on horses, and you've got police in cars. Some cities you have police on bicycles. Now in Pakistan, they have a force of police on rollerblades.
Rollerblades.
Yeah, I guess they figure
I'd like to get chased by one of them.
A little bit. I know. Well,
that'd be funny.
It's just hop over a fence and watch them try to scale a fence on rollerblades.
Hey, come and get me, doofus.
But here's the problem: they're armed.
Huh?
So,
okay.
If you get too close to being able to escape them, this is Pakistan. They probably have authority to shoot you.
Yeah. Don't run from the rollerblade cops. Of course, I don't know. Have you ever tried to fire a gun while on rollerblades?
I know you can't be
John Wayne
pumping it. You've got to
like
stop and you've got to steady your feet, and then it's like I know.
By then
it's
you're
like
gone.
trying to fire
just turn a corner
from a horse or something. Yeah. So
remember that there was a comic who talked about having cops on pogo sticks. Who was that?
I haven't heard that.
What's
was
that
it a
guy's
comedian?
name? Dana Cook or Dane Cook?
Like a comedian?
It was a comedian.
Oh, okay. Part of a comic. Okay. That
it was a stand-up routine, and he was talking about having. And whoever it was, had a lot of energy because he was imitating a cop on a pogo stick trying to pull someone over, and I can't remember who it was now, but it was a funny routine, and trying to picture a cop on a pogo stick trying to get somebody to
to shoot halt,
submit to the law. Trying to, yeah, you imagine trying to shoot someone.
Yeah.
Hold on.
I guess part of it is that they want to be able to turn, because, this is Pakistan. Think third world country. When we say alley in Cincinnati, we mean one of those places where trucks drive behind buildings in order to deliver food and stuff like that. But in Pakistan, an alley might be barely big enough for, two people to walk side by side.
Yeah,
maybe not
a
even
bike
that big.
or something.
And so they want to be able to hit some of those places. And I guess part of the problem is that there are snatchings that go on, human trafficking and stuff. And they're trying to get a police force that can get to places and reduce that. So even though it's kind of funny, at least it's coming from a good place, I guess, intentionally.
It still seems like you could get there much faster by running.
Maybe. I don't know.
Can they really go that much faster?
You can get going. You can get fast on rollerblades. And here's the thing. Once you're there, it's like, okay, you're running.
Maybe they have them like a quick release.
I think you can get there faster on rollerblades. Oh, that would be awesome. A quick release, and then
you get there, and then you push a button, and they pop off, and now you're on.
You know what? If they don't have that, we need to invent that and sell that to the Pakistanis, to their police force.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, I think you can go faster on rollerblades than by running.
Oh, okay. All right.
But the other thing is, first of all, let's say you do run somewhere and you get there quickly, you're out of breath. Even if you're fit, you could be out of breath. But the second thing is, even if you could run as fast as you can rollerblade, you can't do it all the time. And so the idea is that with rollerblades, they can be constantly hitting more area at a time within a given time, and therefore increase the parole effectiveness. That would be my two answers to that concern.
I still think scooters or bikes would be a lot easier, but
Bluebird scooters. I mean, that's what they need.
Yeah.
Okay. Next one is actually from my son. I'll have to send you the email. But he got an email. So he's been complaining about this. I can't find it. Okay. My son has been complaining about this. He goes to IUPUI, and for a while they have been, I guess, forcing people to get these COVID tests. They send out these emails. They say, you have to get tested. If you don't, you might be suspended from classes, blah, blah, blah. So he goes, and they say that it's random, but he went out and he got the test. A week later, he had to get a second test. 1 week. And a week after that, he had to get yet another test. 1 week. So anyway, they had this program of enforced, testing, whatever. Here we go. And he got an email from them where they're kind of bragging about it. The student COVID-19 email update. 1 year of COVID-19 by the numbers. Okay, so they're bragging about this stuff. 1 billion minutes spent in Zoom meetings instead of classrooms. 290,000 branded cloth masks distributed. Okay, here's the kicker. 360,000 plus mitigation tests completed, collecting 193 gallons of saliva. That's gross.
The whole thing is so...
It's stupid. And they actually bragged about their incompetence.
From day one, our initial reaction was, this is just kind of stupid. I don't think this is the way to react to this. Mm-hmm. And we've been so right about everything we've said.
We've never had to retract a single thing we've said about how this has been handled.
I never said, well, okay, maybe the masks were a good idea, or maybe this was maybe shutting down was a good idea. We always said the same thing. This is a cold, and it might be a little bit more dangerous than most colds.
Some people
handle
will
it the way
have
you
bad
would
reactions.
a cold.
Protect vulnerable people and quarantine sick people the way you would have done any other disease any time in the history of the world.
Yeah. And make sure you're in a state of grace so that if you get it and die, you'll go to heaven.
That's right. And don't lock down the churches. Open them up. Make the graces more available to people, not less.
Yeah. Don't stay home and not work. Work harder. Employ more people to build more preparation units, whatever that might be. But they didn't do that, did they?
Yeah. Okay. My last one. I'm gonna read the story down to a certain point. This actually was back in late January this year, and I'm not going to read the headline. I'm just going to read the story. Texas issued a memorable Amber Alert on Friday for the missing son of the vicious Chucky doll of horror movie fame. The message, you know what an Amber Alert is, right?
Yeah.
Child missing kind of a thing. The message described Chucky, the star of the 1988 Chills classic Child's Play, as the 28-year-old redhead suspect in the disappearance of his 6-pound 5-year-old son, Glenn. Glenn Ray was born in the film Seed of Chucky. Dad clocked in at 16 pounds and 3 feet tall in his description. Chucky, according to the Amber Alert, was last seen wearing a blue denim overalls with a multicolored striped shirt and wielding a huge kitchen knife. His race was listed as doll. The alert, typically sent out for actual missing children who may be in peril, was sent out via email 3 separate times to subscribers of the Texas Alert system, reported the local news station. The State Department of Public Safety later issued a statement saying the alerts were sent in error.
I would hope so.
This alert is the result of a test malfunction, said the statement. We apologize for the confusion this may have caused and are diligently working to ensure this does not happen again.
It would have been funnier if they recorded the number of people calling saying, I think I found him.
Sightings? Have there been any Chucky doll sightings in Texas?
That reminds me of last week, which, I still have not produced last week's show or podcast.
Mm-hmm.
But we didn't talk about it last week, but there were sightings in Cincinnati of monkeys.
I was actually just pulling that up because I thought,
Bryce
what,
Hill.
I should talk about the monkeys.
Because I forgot about those, yeah. And I was at work that day, and my boss came down and he said, did you hear about the monkeys in Price Hill? Now, if you're in Cincinnati and somebody says that, you would probably take it as a racist statement.
A racist thing? I know, the monkeys in Price Hill. Well, okay, I know who you're talking about. You're like just being a jackass.
It's not all black, but there's a lot of black people in Price Hill, and it's like, geez. I mean, I wouldn't expect to hear that from my boss at work.
I know, yeah.
He said, no, I'm not being racist. There are monkeys in Price Hill running loose in the St. Joseph Cemetery, which we've talked about before because they have the deer that get impaled on their fence.
Right.
I never saw any good pictures of them, but a lot of people called 911 to report them.
Yeah, so
and I saw
I'm watching
video.
A story that shows. Okay, so this is the video that it's showing. I'm going to say it reminds you a lot of Bigfoot videos.
Yeah, is it the one
like,
at night, kind of?
Yeah, they're at night, and it's kind of like the footage is. I mean, it's actually at night with like a flashlight or something like that.
Yeah.
But it almost looks like, you know how you can get that footage where the hot stuff shows up white and the cold stuff shows up black. It looks like that, but it's not really. It's more like black and white footage with a flashlight shining and some things that look like maybe they could be monkeys. I don't know. It's like.
It could be. Now, they're not. It's not like they're trying to say. It's not like that's what it looked like to them while they were standing there watching it. They saw them and then pulled out a camera and tried to film it. And it's like, well, it's at night. You don't get. And by then they were far away in those trees. I kind of believe it. I think some guy was raising them and they got away and.
Well, they haven't been able to figure out who's responsible yet.
Right. I think whoever they got loose from was able to capture them without anyone. Because I think it's illegal to raise chimpanzees.
Mm-hmm.
Like that.
without
You can't
like,
just
a
have a
license
chimp.
or something. Yeah.
I mean, like, because there used to be a lion here in Cincinnati, and that got loose.
Oh,
and
really?
So it became against the law to have a lion.
Was that the guy up on North
Cincinnati.
Bend?
No, it was on.
Wasn't there a guy up there who had some erotic animals? I mean, not erotic.
Exotic.
Exotic animals.
Yeah,
Erotic.
it was
That'd be like
in,
penguins or something. Rabbits.
It was like down.
Exotic
It was like
animals,
between.
like on North Bend. Like he had zebras and stuff, right?
It was between. Well, I don't know about a zebra. It was between Dent and Miami Town. On right
that
off of
way.
Harrison.
I was thinking the other way, off of. I was thinking off of North Bend out towards Coleraine.
Well, there is a guy with a zebra. I had to fix his printer.
Yeah,
I didn't know he had a zebra. Yeah, because he had goats. And,
okay, which we already know a little bit about.
Yeah, so I'm going into his house and passing these goats, and I stopped and petted him a little bit, and then he wants to get me on the printer and get me out of there. So I'm walking behind him. I said, "Are those Toggenburgs?" And he
like,
turned around and looked at me like I had two heads.
What goat I have?
Yeah, and I said, "Yeah, I know what a Toggenburg is." So then we got to talking, and finally he let me see the zebra. He wasn't even going to let me know that he had a zebra until I showed an interest in the goats.
In animals, yeah, fairly specific. Well, the one thing I can say is that the Cincinnati Zoo is not missing any monkeys. So they aren't zoo monkeys.
They're not from the zoo.
Yeah.
There might be some kind of, there could be some kind of laboratory around there that
that's
we're
another
not
good
supposed
point
to know about.
Because isn't there a new wing of UC Hospital over there, or is it Mercy Hospital that's over around the? No, never mind.
So.
We're talking about St. Joseph Cemetery. I'm still back on North Bend.
Yeah.
But there could be a lab that has some monkeys. That's scary because
I tell you what, Amazon labs are coming up all over the place.
Amazon labs.
Amazon is creating laboratories, and they're
biological laboratories.
They're creating a lot of them, huh?
Biological laboratories.
Yes.
Wow.
And from what I understand, they bought CVS or did something with CVS. So they're planning to cash in on all this COVID stuff.
Oh yeah. They want to be ready when people want to. When governments start cracking down and ordering people to have their COVID passports,
they're prepping
and stuff like that.
Amazon are full of preppers.
Yep. They're preppers. They're money preppers, though.
Yeah.
So, this monkey thing. This just reminds me of that time that I it was shortly after it's like while I was in the process of moving into Westfield, north of Indianapolis, and getting the kids into the schools and that kind of stuff, and somehow I got onto the school website, and I see this story that is just like out of the blue to me, and it's a story saying that there have been no clown sightings on the school campus.
Oh, yeah. I remember.
It's like, why on earth would you just out of the blue say that we haven't seen any clowns on the school campus? It's like, that's like saying we haven't seen any platypuses on the school campus. And then I learned about the whole clown, local. There was the urban legend thing going on.
It was so stupid. People get so wound up into this stuff.
Anyway, the monkeys reminded me of that.
It kind of did me too, and a lot of people thought it was another one of those. But there are people who are claiming they saw like 5 or 6 chimpanzees running around in St. Joseph Cemetery. And if you went to St. Joseph Cemetery to see if you could see them, it was blocked off by police. You couldn't get close to it.
Right. And that was, precautions, because you don't want people interacting with chimpanzees
and everybody's
of
climbing
unknown
over the
origins.
gates.
Well, even aside from that,
impaling themselves.
Well, there's the impaling themselves. But if there are chimpanzees, the zoo says we're not missing any. Let's suppose they are from a lab. Who knows what diseases they're carrying or anything like that? You don't want people getting near that.
Yeah.
So, all right, that's all of my nonsense news today.
Okay. Well, that wraps it up. And think about what we said and try to prep for heaven.
Yep.
And if you got to prep for life, don't take it too serious.
That's right.
And as always,
circle the beads.
Pray every day.
For country.
And we'll see you next week.
Bye, everyone.